Georgia fans, these are your 2018 Georgia Gym Dogs!
Hi.
Well, honey, I said sweet potato.
We are officially under 1 month away from the start of the 2018 season. This is the first look at the 2018 Georgia Gym Dogs from Stegman Coliseum in Athens, Georgia. I'm Kevin Kopp alongside former Georgia Gym Dog Kat Hires. Kat, so much excitement, so many changes from the 2017 season as we look ahead to 2018. It all begins here at the road for Georgia and a new look team and a new look coaching staff.
Definitely. Pretty much everything's new this year. New coaches, a lot of freshmen coming in, and this is just a great opportunity for them to get out in front of a crowd and be in Stegman and get that experience before season starts.
So no opponent today for the Georgia Gym Dogs, but this is their first chance to compete in Stegman Coliseum, a building that Courtney Kupets-Carter, in her first season as Georgia head coach, very, very familiar with.
Definitely. Courtney is
greatest coach of all time, but as you look at this resume for Courtney Kupets-Carter, what she did winning 4 team national championships, a slew of individual titles and All-Americans, this is really, as you said, the most decorated gymnast that this sport has ever seen.
She really is. I mean, this resume I know is abbreviated. There's so much that you could say that she's done, and I mean, just looking at the accolades and everything that she's done for the program in general and now being the head coach, there's really a lot in store for this team.
With her first hire, when you can call upon 25 years of coaching experience and 10 national championships for your volunteer assistant coach, that is Suzanne Jacqueline-Liebern, who is the head coach here from 1984 through 2009, 10 NCAA titles, including the last 5 years that she was the head coach, that 5-peat from 2005 through 2009. So Courtney has had the task of filling out her staff, but it's a great place to start.
It definitely is, and I talked to Courtney about having Suzanne on the staff as a volunteer coach, and she said, you know, it's great to just have that security blanket of somebody who's been through this and has that success, and, you know, they've got the relationship because Courtney was a gymnast under Suzanne, and she said it's just a relief to know that Suzanne is there when she has questions for her, you know, because she's brand new to this, and so learning step by step from Suzanne is a great thing for her to have in her back pocket.
Yeah, certainly these two produced remarkable results when Courtney was the gymnast and Suzanne was the coach. So interesting to see how that dynamic has shifted over the years. Nearly a decade since Courtney finished here as a gymnast, back as a first-year head coach, and Suzanne Jacqueline-Liebern back in the fold as well as we get ready for vault. As we turn our attention from the coaches to the gymnast, Kat, we look at these first 2 events today, vault and bars, where Georgia is going to be quite thin. We're still a month away from the start of the season, but only 5 up on vault, 5 up on bars. You have Sabrina Vega, Marissa Oakley, the freshman, will compete for the first time here in Stegman Coliseum. Gigi Marino, a senior, Rachel Dixon, a sophomore, and Sydney Sneed, a junior, in the anchor spot. Lauren Johnson was a scratch probably about an hour before we got on the air today, so they were hoping to have 6 up on vault, but this is an area where numbers are going to be kind of thin this season.
They definitely will, you know, and they've had to have some people step up. You see Sabrina Vega in that vault lineup where she wasn't in that lineup last year, and so there are definitely a couple cases of that where people who didn't compete in certain events last year are stepping up and training those events, trying to get in the lineups to create that depth so that they have a little bit of wiggle room with that.
Yeah, and, you know, this is, it's not many programs in the country that can pack this many people into a Stegman Coliseum for an exhibition meet. This is a remarkable crowd, and so it's not quite the close to 10,000 that we would expect for the home opener, but this is still, you know, the lights are on, the video board's going, beautiful new Stegman Coliseum. So if you're a freshman, Marissa Oakley sitting in that second spot, I mean, this is as close to real as it gets for you, and I think that's really what this first look is all about. Good, bad, or indifferent on the result today, getting this competition experience in this building is a big deal for everyone, whether you're a freshman, sophomore, junior, senior.
It really is, and I think that's what they were going for with this first look. Courtney said, you know, it's going to be exactly like a regular meet day minus the other team being here, and so I think that's great to simulate that for the girls. And there are even seniors who are new to the lineups, and so it's great to get them out in front of these people in the Coliseum to get that experience under their belt before season actually starts.
Sabrina Vega was a very seasoned freshman when she started last year. She's now an even more seasoned sophomore, but as you said, Kat, she has not competed on vault as a collegiate gymnast, and you go from that to starting off the lineup as we look at the sophomore from Carmel, New York.
Definitely, and Sabrina has definitely gained confidence from experiencing her freshman year, and so I think this is a great spot for her not only to start out the team, start out the season, but, you know, it's great to have somebody who has that confidence and power to start off the lineup.
And here she goes, the first look officially underway.
Sabrina with a Yurchenko layout full. You can see she's got a little bit of form issues, but again, she's just new to vault in the lineup, and so I think they're really working on polishing that up as the season goes on.
You know, and she spent a whole year pretty much as the leadoff on beam, so someone that you know can go out, can set the tone, can hit consistently, I think is probably the biggest thing coming out of that spot.
Exactly.
And now we get Marissa Oakley, the freshman who will get to compete for the first time here in Stegman Coliseum, which has got to be thrilling for her and probably a little bit overwhelming, Kat, if you think back to your first time in this building.
I definitely remember it clearly. I actually started off vault as well, and it was the biggest adrenaline rush. I think I was all numb because I was just full of nerves, and so I can only imagine how she's feeling right now. But it's also a great feeling, and once she lands this vault, she's going to, you know, be warmed up and excited about what she's just done. Another Yurchenko layout full, very nice landing.
Now you can exhale. You've got that first one out of the way.
Exactly, I know she's sighing with relief right now.
Marissa had a long layoff from competition before getting back into form at the P&Gs in 2017, so still trying to work back to form for her.
Definitely, so she's been training for the past 3 years without competing, and so P&Gs in the fall was her first time getting out there. And so that in itself is a challenge for her to get out in front of a crowd and have the pressure of being judged and, you know, that routine mattering. So, you know, it's just good for her to get out and get in front of the crowd.
So we go from two relatively inexperienced vaulters in Sabrina Vega and Marissa Oakley to one that has been there, done that for Georgia over the years. Unofficially, I guess, beginning her senior season, Gigi Marino, third on vault for Georgia.
Gigi's one of those consistent ones that, you know, you can always count on in the vault lineup. And she's capable of doing a 1.5. I'm not sure if she's going to do that today. Looks like she's just sticking with the full. But, you know, that's good. When you've only got 5 up on vault, it's good to kind of keep it safe and keep the routines clean and make sure you can get those 5 scores to count. Good form through the air. Maybe needs a little more amplitude. She's going to do the 1.5, but again, it's good to get out here and get those first vaults underway on those hard surfaces.
And the opening score of a 9.8 for Sabrina Vega. Marissa Oakley followed with a 9.825 behind her. So Georgia trying to build on those scores. And Kat, you never want to compete 5 on an event, but maybe somewhere in the back of Courtney Capetz-Carter's mind, hey, we might be in a situation this season where we have to compete 5. Let's put them out there in an absolutely no margin for error kind of pressure-filled situation here in the first look.
Exactly, and I think that's something that, you know, Courtney and Suzanne both are great about, is putting the pressure on the girls and making them perform under that pressure so that if something unexpected happens or there's some kind of unexpected adversity, then they're able to handle it because they've been there before, they've practiced it. So huge vault there from Rachel Dixon. She's got lots of power, and I know she's been practicing the 1.5 as well. So we may have some big vaults with 10.0 start values coming later on in the season.
Yeah, this certainly looked like she had more than enough amplitude to add in that extra half twist at some point this season. And this is the start of her day in the all-around. Rachel was an all-arounder. We saw her debut last year against Missouri a couple weeks into the season where she had this 39.525 in the all-around seemingly out of nowhere and really cemented that spot now as the lone all-arounder at this point, at this moment for Georgia. She's certainly going to be counted upon for some big numbers this season. And with only 5 competing on vault, we go right to the anchor spot and junior Sydney Sneed.
Chico out full, massive amplitude, great landing there. And Sydney's been working the 1.5, but also the double. So I think, you know, they're going to want to get that double in there at some point, because that difficulty in showing the depth that they have on vault with just their 5 is impressive to the judges. And so as long as her back holds up, you know, she's dealt with some back injuries. They're being careful with that, but I know she's going to want to put that double in there at some point this season.
Yeah, that was figures to be the high point of that first rotation, which was a 9.825 coming into that. We'll have the vault scores and highlights from rotation 1 when we come back to Stegman Coliseum. Welcome back inside Stegman Coliseum. Kevin Kopp and Kat Hires with you. We have completed one rotation of the first look as we count down toward the start of the 2018 Georgia Gym Dog season, and a fine start, very consistent start on vault. A couple of 9.8s, couple of 9.825s, but then Sydney Sneed came in the anchor position. A shorter turn event. She's going to be in the all-around today, and this is a fine start to her day, Kat.
It definitely was, and you know, I think that's what they were looking to do. They were starting off with 5, so they needed to hit those 5 routines, and they were clean vaults and pretty solid scores to start off. So I think, you know, the coaches will be happy and the girls will be happy with how they started off.
We'll take a look here at the first rotation score. Sabrina Vega opened with a 9.8, and then Marissa Oakley, the freshman, 9.825 for her first career routine in Stegman. A good start for the freshman out of North Carolina. Gigi Marino, a 9.8. Rachel Dixon, a 9.825. And then the vault you just saw, the big Yurchenko layout full from Sydney Sneed, the high score with a 9.925, 49.175 overall for Georgia on vault. Full newly renovated Stegman Coliseum in Athens. One rotation down and 3 to go as the Gym Dogs get ready to head to bars. Take a look at some of the top returners from this team, and you've got Sydney Sneed, who was the top returner on both vault and bars. And Kat, you mentioned the big thing with Sydney Sneed is just managing her reps, because it's going to be one of those pain management, pain tolerance situations for Georgia there. But she was the high scorer on vault and bars, and they need her to be that again on those 2 events.
They definitely do. Sydney's been a huge contributor, and especially on vault and bars, you know, they're a little bit more thin in their depth, and so she is a crucial part. So keeping her healthy is one of the most important things that the coaches are looking to do this year.
On beam, Sabrina Vega was so good in that opening position. She's going to drop to the anchor, and they're going to give her the chance to score big. She had a 9.8 average, top mark on the team in what was Georgia's weakest event statistically last year, so you figure she can put up some big numbers there. And then on floor, Gigi Marino has put together one of the most impressive careers on floor. She's just off the pace to finish as the top floor exercise competitor all time in program history. It's going to be very close between her and Katie Heenan-Dodson, so it'll be interesting to see what she's been able to do for 3 years going into her senior season. But we look at the bars lineup now, a senior heavy start, only 5 up on bars as there was on vault, but you've got 3 seniors leading the way at the top of this lineup: Lauren Johnson, Haley Sanders, and Natalie Vikulik. And then junior Sydney Sneed in the 4th position, and your anchor is Rachel Dixon, the sophomore. So 3 seniors, 2 all-arounders. They don't have a lot of numbers here, but the numbers they have are good ones.
Definitely. They've all been in the bars lineup before, and so they have that experience under their belt, which is good to have when you're thin like this in your depth.
So Lauren Johnson, who was scheduled to appear on vault and scratched out of that lineup, will yet to get things started in the second rotation. Of course, it feels like so long ago now, but she's the 2014 SEC vault champion, and she brings so much experience, so much extra depth and leadership qualities to this roster that she's still around in 2018.
She does, and coming in for her 5th year, I think, has been huge for the team, huge for the coaches to kind of get everybody on board, you know, and have that cohesion between the team and the girls. And I think Courtney is just so grateful for the role that she's taken in the leadership role, and she kind of keeps it light, too. You know, Courtney told me a story about her Wonder Woman slippers and her Wonder Woman mug coming into a vault inter squad. You know, so it's good to have that balance of somebody who holds you accountable, but can at the same time can have fun with it. And so Lauren's a great asset to the team, and we're happy she's back this year.
I mentioned her prowess on vault. She also competed bars every meet last year for Georgia, 9.7 average, but her season and career best was a 9.9 in last year's SEC championship. So she'll get things started in the second rotation for Georgia on the uneven bars.
And this is what first look is for. It looks like maybe somebody forgot to have the mat to push for her release move. But something about Lauren that you're going to see, and you know, her score doesn't necessarily, her average score doesn't necessarily reflect it, but she is one of the most powerful gymnast, and you can see it even when she swings bars. And so any mistakes that she has throughout the year, they're all aggressive mistakes. And I know that's what coaches like to see, that you're not being timid on the event. Like that shoot over right there, she saved that handstand. She was about to fall through, but you know, that's part of experience too, and staying calm when stuff like that happens. And Lauren's just a great bar swinger and great lead off for this lineup.
Yeah, fought through some adversity in the middle of that routine, but finishes up just a small hop back on the landing and a fine starting routine for Georgia.
It really was, and something that you focus on bars is your handstands and landings, and I think she definitely hit her handstands, especially that bailed handstand, maybe a little over, but she fought through it, and it was a great start off. Beautiful double A, just a tiny hop. But that's another thing too about first look and the first couple meets of the season is the landings. You know, they're not necessarily there in the beginning of the season, so once you get that experience under your belt, you're more comfortable with the timing, and those landings will come.
And it's important to remember, and Kat, you can speak to this a little bit as we look at Haley Sanders, who will get ready to go second. I keep saying it's about a month until the season starts. In gymnastics preseason, that's a long time. That's a virtual eternity. I mean, the official practices only started about 2 months and change ago. So, I mean, that's still basically a third of your preseason remaining until you get ready to compete. So you don't want to put too much stock in an event like this. As important as it is, there's still a lot of work to be done between now and that season opener at Alabama.
There definitely is. I think, you know, the first 2 months you're getting your endurance up and you're hitting those routines and putting them together, putting all your skills that you've been working on individually throughout the fall, you're putting them all together into one routine. And so now we've got time for polishing before season really starts.
So up second following Lauren Johnson, this is another senior, Haley Sanders.
Nice toe hand into a toe half. Beautiful pike jagger for Haley. The bailed hand was a little bit short, so that'll be a deduction. But all the other handstands seem to be right on top. Beautiful double tuck and a stuck landing. Again, another solid routine to start off this lineup. That was a nice release. She could get a little more height on that release, but that'll come with time as she gets more comfortable and more aggressive. Then you always like to land with that stick.
And Kat, after she had the issue on the bail to handstand, still was able to get it back. Good last handstand, good dismount. So that's what you want to see too, is put that mistake behind you mid-routine, and that's where you can count on a senior to be able to do something like that.
Exactly. That definitely takes experience. And you know, if you're short on that handstand, it kind of rushes the rest of your routine. So her ability to relax and to get back with her timing and of the handstands and everything says a lot about her experience.
So that was following a 9.775 from Lauren Johnson to open the rotation. We'll have the third of our 3 consecutive seniors. Natalie Vikulik is ready to go third. We have 3 Canadian natives on this Georgia roster. Natalie's an interesting situation because she had competed so much in years prior, really missed essentially all of last year. She only competed twice on bars. One of them was a career-high 9.9. The other was a 9.75. Just was never really able to get into rhythm last year. So to put her back now in the middle of this bars lineup as a senior could be a really big asset.
It definitely could, and she's got a huge skill coming up here that's new. She was working on it over the summer and, you know, just playing around with it, and the coaches were like, we are putting that in your routine, that massive ginger right there. Beautiful form. Just, she's a great bar swinger all around. Just the toe point and her lines on her routine are just beautiful, and I know they're happy to have her back in the lineup. You said last year she didn't really compete as much. She was facing an illness that really kept her out the rest of the season and landed a little bit short on that dismount, had to put that knee down, but she's very talented on this event, and she's going to be a great asset to the lineup. Again, that beautiful ginger, that's going to add a lot to her routine. And it looks like she just misjudged the dismount a little bit. She opened up a little bit early. You can see she was unexpected, so her knees weren't quite ready for that landing.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing is, with only 5, obviously, there's no room for error, so Georgia will be counting a fall. So at the end of the day, if you're going to go look at the team score, you're going to see something that maybe does not tell the whole story, you know, at this point in the season. you're not going to hopefully get to January where Georgia's competing 5 on vault and 5 on bars. So may have the unfortunate effect of hurting on that end.
Exactly. They have some that are training bars, to get that depth. And Jordan Pedersen's been working, and Marissa Oakley's working on getting in the lineup as well. And so I think that'll help, because if you have a fall, you have that 6th routine to replace the fall. And so right now they obviously don't have that luxury, but it's still, like you said, early on. Season's a month away, and so they have the time to get that depth on the event.
It was a 9.325 for Vikulik, which tells you the rest of it was solid, counting that 5/10 deduction. And here is Sydney Sneed, the first of Georgia's 2 all-arounders back-to-back on bars.
One of the things you see early on in the season is short handstands, but I really haven't seen that so far. They've been really great and patient on getting on top of the bar, and that's something that, typically you rush early on in the season, but they've done a great job so far. Double layout dismount. Little bit of wobble on the feet. You tried to hold on to it, but slight deduction there, but beautiful routine.
And a good start to Sydney Sneed's day. She had the high score on vault with a 9.925, and this figures to be the high score so far for Georgia on bars.
And it's great because you know what you're going to get with Sydney pretty much every time. She's a stickler about her own form, and so she's technically going to be beautiful in every event. It's just a matter of whether she'll hit. And Sydney's a very consistent gymnast, and so that's a relief to have that in every event throughout the season.
And that's a good pickup after the fall on bars, and we'll have one more routine after a 9.85 as the scores come in for Sydney Sneed. This will be Rachel Dixon. Rachel started her all-around with a 9.825 on vault in the first rotation. Gets to go here on the anchor where she had a season and career-high 9.95 last season.
And just like I was talking about Lauren Johnson having the power on bars, Rachel Dixon does as well. She swings some huge bars, and you'll see that with her first release here. Starting off with a massive ray. She just flies in that release. It's a wonder that she can control it the way that she does. Again, beautiful with the handstands right on top. Double out dismount, tiny hop, but she was in control of that whole routine in that dismount as well. So that's going to be a great anchor gymnast for the bars lineup.
Yeah, you couple that big release with, she was just so deliberate, and as you said, not rushing anything, taking her time, holding those handstands for that extra half second, and really start to finish very solid.
You can definitely tell she's comfortable up there.
So Georgia can add some big numbers there with Sneed and Dixon at the end of their lineup. A fall from Vikulik in the middle, but we are halfway done in our first look. We'll step away and recap rotation number 2 when we come back. And Georgia capped it off with a couple of big numbers from Sydney Sneed and Rachel Dixon in the anchor spot.
And it's great to have these 2 all-arounders in those last 2 spots because you know what you're going to get with them. They've got some beautiful gymnastics, and Rachel Dixon ending with that 9.875 was an exclamation point on that lineup. They had a fall, but they bounced back and ended with those 2 big scores.
Yeah, Sydney Sneed had a 9.85, and then, as Kat just mentioned, Dixon with the 9.875, so Georgia picked it up at the end of that second rotation. Here are your scores. Lauren Johnson opened the rotation with a 9.775. Haley Sanders, a 9.675. Natalie Vikulik had the fall in the middle, a 9.325 for the senior, and then the Sneed and Dixon finished big for Georgia. So overall, it's a 48.5, but only competing 5 on bars. They've got to count that fall, but some great individual performances, and we'll take a quick break, and come back with Georgia on beam in rotation number 3 when we come back to Stegman Coliseum. We already looked at some of the highly talented returners for this Georgia team, but Kat, looking at this group of 4 newcomers, these 4 freshmen, a lot of potential talent out there, some of them dealing with some nagging injuries, really all of them in one way or another dealing with some nagging injuries. So what stands out to you as you look at this class?
You know, they have a lot of experience with competing. I mean, Marissa Oakley and Emily Schild, coming from trials, and Marissa Oakley in the fall as well, being in the P&G championships. And so that is great experience for them to have because that's a lot of pressure. And so I think coming into collegiate gymnastics with that experience under your belt is great. Now, they are injured, and so I think that's a big factor. And why we have, less depth on different events, I think, is the struggle because they were expecting these freshmen to come in and contribute to the lineup. So slower starting for them, but hopefully throughout the year, they'll heal and with, you know, the training and the athletic training and the rehab that they have, hopefully they'll be able to get in the lineups.
And you can see Madison McPherson, the local product out of Watkinsville, will not compete this season. She already had off-season surgery on her shoulder, but the other three have the chance to get in that lineup here in 2018. Well, we've mentioned it's a new look for the coaching staff, it's a new look for the team, it's a new look for Stegman Coliseum. This beautiful building has been immaculately renovated. Back in 1964 when it was built, just $2.4 million, $8 million alone on the renovations this year. Georgia men's and women's basketball, gymnastics and volleyball compete here. Courtney Coupette's had some great memories in the old Stegman Coliseum, but I got to tell you, this building is absolutely beautiful. It is always one of the great places to watch a collegiate gymnastics meet, but there's nothing like it now. The intros, the big video boards, it's been absolutely spectacular. And as we look at the beam lineup, Sydney Sneed will lead us off, the junior, followed by Natalie Vikulik, Haley Sanders, Vivi Babelis, Rachel Dixon, and Sabrina Vega, and we will also see an exhibition routine from senior Jasmine Arnold. So only had 5 up on vault and bars, but a little more depth, Kat, on this event. They've got 7 that are ready to compete today.
They do, and you see that new name, Jasmine Arnold. The rest have competed beam before. Jasmine's new to the lineup, and so I think getting her out here in that exhibition routine in front of the crowd, you know, beam is a very difficult event to compete in Stegman or in any Coliseum, really. And so it's only 4 inches, and it's pretty lonely up there when you get up there after you salute from the judges. So it's good to get her out there and get this experience.
Yeah, Jasmine will also be competing as the leadoff competitor on floor, so we'll get to see her a couple times. Here's Sydney Sneed, who will lead off. Beam average last year, a 9.756. Her season high was a 9.875 on the road at Auburn. So here she is on the beam here in Stegman.
Sydney starting off with a very difficult triple series. Handspring layout, step out, back handspring, done beautifully. Beautiful acro series too with that back tuck. Not a bobble so far. Courtney said, you know, the beam lineup has really taken a turn for the better. I think, you know, it's been a struggle in the past, but this year it's really one of their best events and their event where they have the most confidence, which is definitely a change from the past. And so I think it's refreshing to see that they've got such depth and confidence on this event.
Yeah, statistically last year Georgia was 15th in the country. It was their weakest event by the numbers, but if you can be a team confident on beam, there's nothing you can't do.
Exactly. It's probably the toughest to have that confidence and to compete under pressure, and Sydney handled that beautifully.
Yeah, a fantastic start to the beam lineup from Sydney Sneed.
You can just tell she feels confident up there, and even if you're the slightest bit off, you know, when you have that confidence, you're able to compensate and, you know, drop an arm or raise an arm to help keep you balanced on those 4 inches.
Just hanging on for that stuck landing at the end, too. That's a beautiful look at it. And when you have an athlete of Sydney Sneed's caliber in that leadoff role, I think there's probably no more important role in the lineup, all 24 routines, than who's leading off on beam. And if they can keep her healthy, get her out there on that event, you know, she's a great tone setter.
Exactly, she is. And Courtney said that, you know, it's hard to slow her down when she gets going in training, and she likes to do those numbers. And so it's been a challenge to get her to realize that she doesn't need the numbers, she just needs the consistency. And so I think that's huge this year, especially with her in this leadoff spot, because you need that first routine to go well, you know, because it's easy to snowball in one direction or the other, and so they want it to obviously go in a positive direction.
So here is Natalie Vikulik. We talked about it a bit on bars. She was limited last year due to illness, only competed twice on bars. She didn't compete on beam all last season, but she does have a career high 9.9.
Natalie was in the beam lineup consistently her freshman and sophomore years as well. And so she does have the experience up here. It's just a matter of getting back up there and out in front of the crowd and feeling that confidence again. I'm noticing their beam music is a little more upbeat.
I was just about to, you took the words out of my mouth there. I was at the first two. Yeah, definitely. Unfortunately, Natalie will come off here in her series, but yeah, you're absolutely right, setting a little bit of a different tone inside the building.
Definitely. I think, you know, usually you have a calming music to kind of get you in your zone, but it's it's up to the girls. So each girl picks their music, and so if this helps them get in the zone and do their best routine, then that whatever works for them.
Kat Ding is probably the ultimate example. I don't think anyone that I've come across has had more intense beam music.
Definitely. Kat Ding definitely stood out with her music. I remember that as well. We always questioned her choice, but hey, it worked for her.
The results.
And round off 1.5 with a little step there. Natalie, like I said, just trying to get back in the lineup and get back into her comfort zone. It looks like she's a little off center here on her series, so causing her to come off, but it's good for her to get back, and she finished strong in that routine, so that's what the coaches and judges are looking for as well, to see how you bounce back from that.
Yeah, a bit of a tough day for Natalie, having a fall on bars on the dismount and there on beam, but again, this is, you take this, you look at it, you internalize it, you go back to the gym, and you've got another 4 weeks of practice before they really count. So work to be done, but certainly that's everyone's going to have these situations happen, whether we see them or not, this early in December.
Exactly, and Natalie's going to go back in the gym and be determined to not do that again, and to come out here with her best routines once season starts.
Speaking of upbeat beam music, here is Haley Sanders, who gained some notoriety for her beam music last year, but it worked out. She had a season and career high 9.875 last season competing beam.
She did, and I think she actually has set the tone for these upbeat beam musics, and she had a calm music her freshman year, and I think she took on a different role last year as a junior, and this music kind of helps her have the attitude that she needs to get her beam done and to rock her routines, and obviously she's kept it this year, so it did something well last year, and she's looking to do the same, or if not better, this year.
This is Lip Gloss by Lil Mama. I know from having looked that up last year, I'm like, oh, this is good. This note stays for 2018 too.
Man, I was giving you too much credit. I'm like, Kevin is up on his music.
No, I am not at all.
Deep breath before her series. Handspring layout, step out, beautiful. Nice leap combo. You can tell she's got a little nerves up there, but as long as she can contain them, I think, just getting up there and getting the routine out of the way for the first time this year will be a great accomplishment for Haley. They changed this up as well. That was her signature move. It was a standing front tuck. Courtney said, what, how about we put a couple steps in front of that and connect the beat jump to it? And Haley ran with it, and so far it's paying off. Beautiful routine with a stuck landing from Haley. That was great. Just what they needed after that fall to kind of get the momentum going again.
Yeah, and that's a good sign, too. We saw Sydney Sneed do it after Vikulik's fall on bars, and then Haley Sanders delivers a great routine here after Vikulik's fall on beam.
And it's great to know, that your teammates have your back when you have a lapse like that, like Natalie did. You put the pressure on yourself, but knowing that your teammates will have your back and be able to cover that fall and get a score that you need to get to count and make a great event score, that's just a relief.
So a situation now where Georgia needs to hit 4 in a row to avoid counting that fall. They've got 1 down from Sanders, and Vivi Bobolis will try to keep that going. And the two that Georgia would like to count so far have both been great numbers. Sydney Sneed opened with a 9.9, and Haley Sanders just put together a 9.85. Vivi's average last year, a 9.763, but she did have a pair of 9.9s in there as her season high.
Vivi definitely blossomed last year on beam, and I think she's looking to carry that over into this year. Starting off with her unique series. This is very difficult to connect, and Vivi does it very well. She's got to keep those arms moving to keep that connection going, and I think she did that very well. So even if you're slightly off, that's the hard part, is to go forward and then backwards like that instead of keeping the momentum backwards like a lot of girls do. So it's impressive that she's able to handle that.
And I'm sure as a senior you've got that contingency plan built in just in case something goes wrong, you lose that connection bonus, that you've got a chance to make it up a little bit further down in the routine.
Definitely. She's very good at improvising. I think she's dealt with that in the past, and so her ability to stay calm and to change up her routine last minute is just shows her maturity on this event. A little bit of a balance check there on her front toss. Again, this is a tough event to come out right out of the gates. It's 4 inches, it's high up there, and if you've got the nerves, you know, sometimes it's hard to contain them, and so this is great for them to get out here. You can see with her front aerial, she was a little bit off, but as long as she keeps her arms moving, the judges should give her the benefit of the doubt there and give her that connection. And then her front full dismount, landing with a clean, just a small hop, but minimal deductions throughout the routine besides that wobble. I think that'll definitely add up a little bit, but she stayed on the beam, and that's going to be better than a fall. So.
And worth noting that the scoring that we've got coming in today from actual judges, so you know, it's not just a couple of teammates sitting there on the tables and giving the numbers. So that also is a good thing, I think, for everyone to get a reflection. Sometimes you're in the gym day in, day out to get a reflection on how these will actually potentially translate in the regular season. This will be a 9.65 for Vivi, as Kat mentioned. The majority of that deduction coming there on the bobble. And we've got 2 left, and then an exhibition from Jasmine Arnold. Up next will be Rachel Dixon. Last season averaged a 9.6. She competed all during the regular season. Unfortunately, had a little bit of an injury in the postseason, which took her out on beam.
Something they've really been focusing on with Rachel this year is her consistency in practice in the gym. So, you know, with numbers and getting that confidence and getting in front of your team and, you know, realizing that you're being judged on this routine and getting as many numbers getting judged also helps her with her consistency and her confidence on this event. And so you can tell, I mean, being in the 5th spot, that says a lot to how her consistency's improved this year.
Now, unlike Lip Gloss, this is a song I do actually know, but we're keeping the fun beat music going. Brown-eyed girl for Rachel Dixon.
I love it. This is kind of in between.
Yeah.
It's a little more upbeat, but a little calmer than some of the previous girls. Beautiful handspring layout there for Rachel. Something I've noticed throughout the routine so far is they're just intentional with their movements, so you can tell that they've practiced not only the skills but their dance in between. They've really been, you know, detailed, pushing through your fingertips, and obviously beautiful dismount there, and the landings and the arm movements, everything. They're just focusing on the details, and that's really going to pay off, especially later on in the season.
Yeah, top to bottom, we've seen great landings so far in this beam lineup.
This will be a good score to add on to the end of the lineup, and hopefully Sabrina in that anchor spot will do the same.
You need to hit one more to drop the earlier fall.
Speaking of upbeat music, I hear some Michael Jackson coming on.
And that should be ring an alarm bell for any Georgia fan to know what is coming.
We won't give it away just yet, though.
Sworn to secrecy. A 9.9 for Rachel Dixon, so she matches Sydney Sneed for the high score so far on beam, and the 2 all-arounders have delivered. So Sabrina Vega averaged a 9.8 last year, and it's worth noting she averaged that from the leadoff spot. So now you take a great, solid competitor on beam, you drop her down to 6th, you give her a chance to let those scores build in front of her, and she can have the same season this year and have that number go up in all likelihood, and she's got another year of experience on top of it. I think she could be really big for Georgia on beam.
She really could, and this anchor spot is a tough spot to be in, but Sabrina loves beam. This is her favorite event, and she is a tough competitor on this event, and she holds her teammates accountable, and so I think it's a great spot for her to build her leadership role, especially in the lineup. Being in this position, it's tough sometimes because, like today, you have to follow a fall, and that puts the pressure on, but I think she's definitely seasoned and ready for this moment. Beautiful handspring layout. to her extreme focus up there. Nice acro series for an aerial to the beat jump. Beautiful leap combo. She really just seems super calm up there, and adding in that moonwalk, there's your surprise. Sabrina Vega now, after Morgan Reynolds last year, you know, and I think passing it on throughout the generations has just been a cool thing that Georgia's done, and, you know, for her to do that and obviously end with that stick and that huge routine, it's a great thing to see.
I mean, that was a tremendous, that one, if I told you, if you just watched this highlight, devoid of anything else, and I told you this is in mid-March, I don't think you'd have any problem believing it. I mean, that was mid-season form.
Definitely was, and that's great to come out of the gates like that at this first look, and it's only going to build her confidence going into the season from here on out.
I believe, is that the 6th generation of the moonwalker? We're on 5 or 6 now.
I think that is 6, actually. I
going
think
all the
you're
way
right.
back to Nikki Childs. On down.
Definitely a crowd pleaser.
Yes. And that will appropriately be the high score of the evening so far on beam. 9.925 for Sabrina Vega. So it's unofficial. It doesn't go down as a career high, but again, real judges. So she's certainly got the potential for some big numbers going into her sophomore season. And it's a 49.225 for Georgia on the beam, but we will get to see for the first time in an exhibition role senior Jasmine Arnold.
This is huge for Jasmine, just to get out here and get up on the beam. She's practiced this event all 4 years, you know, and so I know that she's so excited to finally be able to showcase what she's been working on. Front aerial back handspring, beautifully done. It's great too because even if she's, you know, in that 7th spot, that is so necessary to have because you're constantly competing for the lineup spot, and those in the lineup are competing to keep their spot, and so that keeps the competitiveness and the value of staying in the lineup, and it's really important to have those alternates competing every day because it keeps you at your best.
A great moment there, and you can see how happy her teammates are for her. I mean, to have worked for 3 years without ever getting the chance to compete, to potentially be in line to do so this season in one way or another, to get out here in Stegman and get to be up there on that beam, I imagine that has to be overwhelmingly meaningful to her. And she did a great job.
She did. It was a beautiful routine, and that's huge for Jasmine. I think, you know, her team is definitely as excited for her as she is because she's just such a great teammate, and I think, you know, they're just so proud of her.
We'll get to see her leading off on floor when we come back for the final event, but first we'll wrap up beam when we continue with the Gym Dogs' first look in Stegman Coliseum. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We have completed 3 routines of the Georgia first look in Stegman Coliseum in Athens and getting ready for the Gym Dogs to head to floor as the lights come down in Stegman Coliseum. But, Kat, a little bit of adversity in the middle with a fall from Natalie Vikulik, but the Gym Dogs responded extremely well. And again, some big scores at the end of the lineup, and Sabrina Vega inheriting the moonwalk and delivered a phenomenal routine for Georgia in the anchor spot.
She really did. Rachel Dixon and Sabrina Vega really topped off that lineup, and that's what the coaches were looking for after the fall, to see that they could bounce back and finish with some big scores to help out their event score. And Sabrina with a beautiful routine at the end to cap that off.
And that's what we've seen in each of the first 3 rotations. Georgia's picked up the scoring late. They've gotten the big numbers from the gymnasts that you would expect to see them from. And here are your scores on beam. Sydney Sneed had a great routine in that opening spot, a 9.9, a fall from Natalie Vikulik. And then Haley Sanders, great bounce back, 9.85. Vivi Bobulish, just one mistake in there, a 9.65. And then Rachel Dixon and Sabrina Vega really picked it up, 9.9 and 9.925, which would have registered as a career high for Vega. And a great exhibition routine in there from Jasmine Arnold as well. So a 49.225 on beam, the high score of the day for Georgia. We've got 1 rotation left when we come back to Stegman Coliseum. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Kevin Kopp, Cat Hires, with you from Stegman Coliseum in Athens. The first look of the 2018 Georgia Gym Dogs, and they have been solid so far through 3 events, getting ready to head to floor exercise. We've been mentioning the start of the season, never an easy thing to do, to go to Coleman Coliseum in Tuscaloosa to begin your year, but that's how Georgia will do it on January 12th at Alabama. That's the season opener. Home opener is just a few days later against Oklahoma on January 15th. Auburn on Friday night, January 19th. Back-to-back home meets for the Gym Dogs. They're on the road at Arkansas, January 26th. And then home against Missouri on February 3rd. All 5 of those meets to start the season on the SEC Network family, and we'll bring you a few of those here from Stegman Coliseum as well. So year in, year out, Cat, you compete in the SEC, you know it is going to be a murderous schedule. You throw Oklahoma in there, Georgia's going to be battle-tested, and we've already seen on the first 3 events today that they may well be up to the challenge, and we'll get a look now at the floor lineup with Jasmine Arnold, the senior, who just competed in exhibition on beam, will lead off on floor, followed by fellow senior Vivi Babelis. Sydney Sneed, the all-arounder, will be 3rd, Gigi Marino 4th, Sabrina Vega 5th, and Rachel Dixon 6th. We'll also see an exhibition routine from freshman Marissa Oakley, who we saw on bars, the lone freshman to compete today for Georgia. So all told, Kat, we go from beam, which we said statistically was Georgia's weakest event last year, to floor, which was their strongest event. They were 8th in the country on floor. They bring back a lot of names, a lot of talent from last year. Still some new pieces of the puzzle, but there's a lot of potential on this event as well.
There definitely is, and I think that's what they know, is that beam and floor are definitely going to be their strongest events this year. So as long as they start off fairly strong on vault and bars and consistent, then they're really going to nail the big score, you know, with the beam and floor, and so that's what they're looking to do here. And they've got some experience, like you said, but they've also got some new faces, so getting out there and getting that endurance up is the biggest thing in the beginning of the season, so we'll see how they handle that today.
Well, you talk about endurance, always a tough thing to do, and you see it happen a good bit. Whoever goes last on beam ends up first on floor, and today that falls to Jasmine Arnold, who had that exhibition, and will lead off in just a moment on floor exercise. Here's a look at how Georgia's roster breaks down. They've got a big senior class. Now, not a ton of routines competed by those seniors, but they've been around. A lot of them have been in the mix, and they are going to be called upon this year. Just 2 juniors, 3 sophomores for Georgia, and then they're freshman heavy as well. This was a highly touted freshman class, 4 very talented gymnasts coming in, but we've mentioned that class has been limited by injuries. So, you know, you look at how these numbers break down, it's going to fall on those seniors in a lot of ways to carry this team.
It definitely will, and that experience that they've had, you know, not necessarily in the lineups, but behind the scenes and supporting the team, I think, you know, them facing different roles is huge for them and a huge step. And so you're going to see some new faces with, you know, different people practicing. I mean, Vivi's practicing vault, Jasmine's in on beam and floor, and Sabrina's working on bars as well. And so I think, you know, with the new faces, it's definitely refreshing to see them in there, and I'm excited for them to have this opportunity.
So Georgia takes a moment before floor begins to bring the entire team together, and you saw, if you were with us just a few moments ago when Jasmine Arnold competed on beam in exhibition, the reaction of her teammates to her finishing that routine was really something special. And this would be, you know, quote, her first competitive routine, first non-exhibition routine that she's competed here in Stegman, and to do so opening the floor exercise rotation puts just a little bit added pressure on her.
It does a little bit, but I know she's excited. Jasmine is not a shy one, especially, you know, you see her on the side of the floor, of the beam, of the bar. She's always dancing, and so I think the fact that she gets to showcase it in front of everybody tonight, I think she's a little bit excited about it.
I believe she was one of the finalists for Best Dancer on the Team in the video that we had here in the arena between vault and bars.
There are definitely some dancers on this team, so it's got to be a lot of fun when the music comes on at practice. I'm sure it's a dance party. First pass for Jasmine, starting off with a double pike. Beautifully done. She looks very determined on her face. I know she's definitely happy she has this spot, and her plan is to keep it. So this is step 1 for her. Second pass, double tuck. Again, very cleanly landed.
She looks very controlled right now, not trying to do anything outside herself. You can imagine her doing this routine right across the street in the practice facility.
Exactly, and a lot of times, you know, you don't necessarily have to have the difficulty in collegiate gymnastics. You just need to be clean. And so if you can hit a clean routine and get a 9.9, as long as you have a 10.0 start value, if you can hit a clean routine, that'll get you the score that you need to count, especially in this first spot to start off the lineup. Third pass for Jasmine, her 2-flip pass, a 1.5 2-front layout. That was a great routine. I think she's happy with that first counted routine, and you can tell her teammates are happy as well.
Well, she waited 3 years for this moment to be out here competing in Stegeman Coliseum, and as you said, if she doesn't want to give the spot back, she took a big step toward keeping it with this routine. She just looked composed throughout.
She definitely did, and I think she's proving herself in this first look, and hopefully she can carry that on throughout the season. She didn't look like she struggled with her endurance at all either. This is a tough pass because you need that combination pass in your routine, and so I think it's risky to put it at the end, but she's confident enough and the coaches were confident enough in her, and she handled it well.
You can see her trying to keep that back foot planted, maybe just slid it a little bit on that last pass, but good throughout, and a fine start on floor for Jasmine Arnold and the Gym Dogs, and that'll be a 9-8 opening score, and if she can give them that week in, week out, that's just what they'll need. So Arnold all smiles after her routine, and fellow senior Vivi Babelis will get ready to compete second for Georgia. Vivi so solid on beam and floor for the Gym Dogs. She competed every meet of 2017 on floor. Season high was a 9-9 against Utah here in Stegeman Coliseum.
One of the things that Vivi really has focused on is controlling her landings, because I think that's something that she struggles with. She's got so much power that it's a matter of reining that in and getting those landings down to minimize the deductions. And so that's something she's going to be looking to do this year, and starting off pretty well in that first pass. Nice combination of skills there. That's a new pass for Vivi. If you remember last year, she had something in her routine that was the Sony Michelle hands. Well, this year, Sony actually helped her cut her music and pick out the music, and so I think having her fellow student athletes in support of her is a cool thing, and it's a fun story.
And if you're going to have someone helping you out, that's a pretty good pick right about now.
Exactly.
Sony doing pretty well with his senior season, as Vivi hopes to.
Ending with the round up double pike. Nice amplitude and clean landing. So great, another great routine for the Gym Dogs.
Two for two start for Georgia on floor, and you're absolutely right. It's just a matter of harnessing that power. We've seen her just bounce out of a few last year, and I think this was pretty much held in check throughout. May have slid her foot just a little bit on this first landing.
She did. She's got a little bobbles, but again, I mean, they've only done so many routines on the hard floor, and so I think getting those numbers and feeling the floor and getting those landings under your belt will help throughout the season. It's still early, so it's a matter of just getting those numbers in.
As the scores come up for Vivi Babelis, Sydney Sneed will get ready to compete third. She averaged a 9.8 on floor last year, missed just over a month in the middle of the season, missed 5 weeks from competing on floor. And again, it's all pain management, that lingering back injury. If we can see her out here in the 2018 season like she was able to compete 4 events today, that's going to immeasurably lift what Georgia's able to do, because she's just so talented.
She is. She's just technically so good, and her form is so good that the judges love to see gymnastics from Sydney Sneed, and the coaches know that she's such a valuable asset to the lineup in all 4 events, and so keeping her healthy is going to be the main key this year.
And you can see the score there just a moment ago, an opening 9-8 from Jasmine Arnold to start things off. The judge is working on Vivi Babelis' score as we speak.
It's good to see them. You know, you can see Sabrina and Lauren joking with her and laughing with her. It's great to see that they're that relaxed before their routines. It kind of keeps the demeanor calm, and you don't get too uptight before your routine. So that's a good thing to have those teammates to kind of keep your nerves down.
Yeah, I think you have to like the team's attitude so far. They've got the upbeat beat music. They seem light there. They seem confident on floor and working out so far.
Definitely is, and a beautiful double pike starting off for Sydney. Talked to some of the girls yesterday, and they said that the cohesion with the team and the coaches is just so great, and that's really what you want to hear going into the season, because it's a long season, and you spend a lot of time with these people, and so you need those good relationships, and it's great to hear that they're really starting off well. And I know Courtney's really focused on the culture change throughout this program, and I think with the new coaches and new Stegman, new everything, I think it's a great start for them, and good to hear that it's going so well so far.
Well, Kat, I thought you put it really well that, any year as a coach, when you come in, you have a freshman class, and Georgia's got 4 freshmen, but Courtney's basically got all freshmen because they're all new, and everyone's got to feel each other out a little bit, learn what's different, what's the same, what's coming back, all these sorts of things.
It's a huge change for Courtney, and she even said she just had her second child, but she feels like now she has 17 children, and so that's quite the challenge for her, but I think she's handled it well so far. A little lapse right there. Sydney was a little short on that double tuck, but that looked like endurance, and she may just be tired at the end of that floor routine, and that's something that comes with season as well.
I'm still breaking out in a cold sweat after Kat mentioned 17 children. I'm expecting my first, so 2 is overwhelming right now, let alone 17.
Multiply by 17. All girls, too. So, well, she's got 1 boy. I take that back. She's got 1 boy. He's not old enough to talk yet, so.
That's the perfect age. Yeah, so Sydney had a good routine going. Unfortunately, will take the fall. But, again, this is a situation where I think, as a coach, you don't necessarily mind it right now, because here's what it does is it puts pressure on these back 3, Gigi Marino, Sabrina Vega, and Rachel Dixon. Hey, we're in a position now where you need to hit. And, Georgia, as you can see, good scores to start from Jasmine Arnold and Vivi Bablas, a 9.875. So they'll have a fall that they'll try to drop now if they can hit their next 3. And we've also got that exhibition at the very end of the afternoon for Marissa Oakley.
You're right, though. It is good that they're seeing adversity early on, because it does. It puts pressure on the girls in the back of the lineup, and it shows the coaches what they can do. And so I think that really helps them set the lineups as well to see how you handle that adversity under pressure.
This is exactly who you want to have following a fall. Gigi Marino, who I mentioned earlier, is just off pace. If she can do just a bit better than what her career average has been to this point in her senior season, there's no reason to think that she couldn't. She's got a chance to be the highest scoring competitor on floor exercise all time in Georgia history. Already last year, she went on a run of 4 straight meets with a 9.95. She was the first gymnast to do that since her new coach, Courtney Coupette's. Good company to be in.
Definitely. Gigi's kept the same music as she had last year. I think, obviously she had great success with it last year, and so she's changed up the dance a little bit, but she loved the music so much she wanted to keep it for her senior year. Big skill here, double layout. Beautiful. That's just like the Gigi we see every year, so it's great to see that she's keeping that beautiful landing on that double A.
She really doesn't do justice to how difficult that skill is. She just makes it look like it's she's going out there and doing a double tuck.
She does, and she almost just walks into her passes, so that just shows how much power she has too going into these. Landed a little bit short on that front layout, but she managed to stay on her feet. Signature back head spring. I don't know if we're going to be passing that one down. She's been doing that for a long time. I don't know if we could actually teach somebody to do that. It'd be a little dangerous. Hoping to finish off with a strong last pass, and she does. Double tuck. A little bit of an uncharacteristic mistake in the middle pass, but her feet were just a little too far in front of her. And, it's still early, so
Yeah, I
Not
think
too worrisome.
that's one that doesn't bother you very much because, like you said, it's so uncharacteristic, and the rest of the routine was phenomenal. Her first and third passes, pretty much right where you would want them to be.
Definitely. I'm impressed with their endurance so far. I think it's definitely where it needs to be at this point. You know, Sydney kind of struggled at the end, but I think overall they're looking really great.
We've got just over a month, about 1 month and 3 days until that January 12th opener. It's a later opener than usual, and this first look is a little bit earlier than some of the previous sneak peeks have been that were a little deeper into December as we look at those first three scores. 9-1-5 for Sydney Sneed, and Marino a good bounce back, and we'll see if Georgia can continue the trend of what they've done in each of the first three rotations, which is save those big numbers for their last two. Their anchors have picked them up. Sabrina had a 9.833 average last year on floor. They season and career high 9.925 at home against NC State. Here she is in the 5th position for the Gym Dogs.
Ending with these two sophomores who have so much power on this event. Starting off with Sabrina's double pike. They may have bigger skills in store for those first passes, you know, but early on in the season, you want to start with the simpler ones to get your confidence and to get that endurance up. Got up 1.5 front layout. Making the eye contact with the camera. She's got those fierce eyes that kind of remind me of Shayla Worley a little bit, holding your gaze on one point of focus. And if you're that point of focus, you don't know what to do really when they're staring at you like that.
Yeah, that look is just coming right into your living room at home there.
And this choreography is just so beautiful. I think Sabrina's such a talented dancer, and this music and the dance along with it is so intricate that it's going to really pay off this year, and that is a tough routine. I would be dead by the first 20 seconds, so it's amazing that she's doing a full floor routine with that choreography throughout the routine.
Yeah, she's got to be a choreographer's dream to work with.
Double tuck to end. Looked like she just opened it up a little bit early. She didn't need to, but, you know, that comes with experience as well. So overall, a very good routine for Sabrina. And she's definitely got the power. I mean, you can see that huge double pike. She's just so confident on this event. And then to add in the flair of her dance skills, it's going to be really fun to watch this year.
So we've seen over the last two routines just a little touch here or there to clean up. Gigi got into some trouble with her middle pass, and Sabrina will have a little deduction on the last one there. There are your scores. Georgia hasn't been able to get back to where they were with those two opening scores from Jasmine Arnold and Vivi Boblis, but they'll be able to drop the fall if they get a hit routine from Rachel Dixon, who will finish her day in the all-around in the anchor spot here on floor. .9.815 average last year, had a career-high 9.95 in her first ever floor routine.
Not sure if she's going to do it here, but she has a huge first pass, double Arabian. She did it, stepped out of bounds. That's a blind landing, and when you're doing it for the first time in front of a crowd on the floor, that's tough to land. The blind landing, you know, you don't see the floor when it's coming, and so you really have to base it off of the numbers and the timing of the skill, and sometimes that's really tough, and you can see she kind of struggled with it there. But again, that's just getting the numbers in and practicing that on the hard surface.
Yeah, better to throw it now, get a feel for it, get a feel for what the building looks like when you're doing it, and now you got a month to clean it up.
Exactly.
All afternoon we have praised when there have been routines that hit a little bit of a difficult spot. We've praised everyone's ability to put that behind them and finish strong, and Rachel on her way to doing just that here.
definitely different competing than it is in the gym in the Coliseum because the music is so loud, and you've got people everywhere that you need to make eye contact with, and that's something they practice, but it's different being in the arena with all these people around, and so it's great to get out here and get that experience. You can see again, she just kind of misjudged the landing a little bit, had to take a couple steps out of bounds, but that's not too worrisome either. She'll definitely get better with that as she does a couple more and gets them under her belt.
And good to see Georgia's got some big opening pass skills there. You've got that double layout that Gigi Marino's been doing forever. Sabrina will likely upgrade that first pass, and then a double Arabian from Rachel Dixon. So good amount of difficulty to see there too as we get an update on the score. Sabrina Vega had a 9.825, and we'll wait the score from Rachel Dixon, which will have that 1/10 neutral deduction for stepping out on the first pass. And before we leave you this afternoon, we've got one more exhibition routine. This will be our second look of the day at freshman Marissa Oakley, the only one of the four freshmen that really is well enough to compete right now, and even she is a little bit banged up and dealing with some injuries as well, but she was able to go on vault, where she scored a 9.825 earlier this afternoon and now gets to finish up the day on floor.
She is, and Marissa's only been training for about 2 weeks now from her injury. She had a little bit of a shoulder issue, and so coming back from that and being able to get to the point where you can compete vault and then exhibition floor says a lot about her training and her mental abilities, and so it's great to see. And the other freshmen as well are hopefully going to get into the lineup a little bit later in the season.
Exhibition routine on the floor, Marissa Oakley.
Starting off with the double pike. Not too bad of a landing, had a little bit of a bounce out of it, but nothing too major. Front layout to a front full. Beautifully done. And Marissa's just going to do her first two passes, and then she's going to do just a roundabout handspring layout for her last pass. Because she's only been training for 2 weeks, she may not have that endurance built up yet, and so they don't want to risk putting a difficult skill on that last pass and risk injury because, like we said, they've already got enough injuries to deal with. They don't need another one.
A good sign after just seeing 5 up on vault and bars. We've seen 7 on beam, and Marissa makes 7 on floor as well. So a little bit healthier in this back half, but you're right, not a lot of margin for error on any of these events right now for the Gym Dogs.
Nice routine for Marissa. It's good to just show off your routine. Floor's a fun one to compete in front of a crowd, and so it's great for her to get out there and exhibition that routine.
Yeah, it'll really be something when you see that whole student section, which is right just a few feet from the end of that floor exercise, packed and on their feet. But for an exhibition meet, an excellent turnout and great results. 196.3 for Georgia is the overall team score. And if you're keeping score at home, you get that by just double counting Rachel Dixon's 9.875 on bars. So that was the score that counted twice. 196.3, you take the good parts of today and try to build on them. You look at the bad parts, you study them, and you go back into the gym to try to fix them. And that's the plan for the next month before they open in Alabama.
Definitely. I think this is a good first step for them to get out there in front of people, and now they know what they need to go back and work on, and they face some adversity, and there's definitely things that they can work on throughout every routine, every event, and so the coaches are happy to have that, and I think the girls are now determined to go back and get ready for that first meet against Alabama.
Well, we promised the first look at the 2018 Georgia Gym Dogs. We saw just that. Freshmen competing for the first time, upperclassmen competing in new places and new spots in the lineup, and it all adds up to a 196.3 for the Georgia Gym Dogs here at home. They'll open the season on January 12th at Alabama on the SEC Network. For my partner, Kat Hires, and our entire SEC Network crew, this is Kevin Kopp saying thank you so much for being with us here for the Georgia Gym Dogs' first look in Stegman Coliseum.